In the last class, we were discussing how the WKB approximation solutions, which hold away from the classical turning points, sufficiently far away from the classical turning points, these approximate solutions are valid, and they are not valid at the classical turning points. We discussed how one can actually connect the two solutions on the two different sides. So in this particular situation where the potential was increasing, on the left hand side the energy is more than the potential, and we have oscillating solutions which can be written as cos and sine. On the right hand side the energy is less than the potential. You have exponentially decaying and growing solutions. And we discussed in the last class how one can go about connecting these two solutions through the classical turning point. We did not work out the mathematical details of how these two solutions can be connected, but I had shown you the general approach to the thing, to the problem, and we shall work out the mathematical details in a later class. And I told you that the solution cosine this integral of kx prime dx prime from x to a, this was related to the solution exponential minus integral from a to x rho x prime dx prime. So this is the part of the solution which will decay exponentially over here, and sine was related to the exponentially growing solution in this region. So sine in this region, if you continue it over, is connected to the exponentially growing solution in this region. Similarly, if the potential is like this, again here we have exponentially growing and decaying solutions, here you have the oscillating solutions, and one can connect the exponentially growing and decaying solutions on this side, which are these two, to cosine and sine on this side. And this is how they go over, one goes over to the other. And we had used this in the last class to consider a situation where we had a potential well, and there was a particle with energy E in this potential well, and the energy E was less than the height of the potential well. So we were looking at the conditions under which you can have bound state solutions for this problem. And the condition turned out to be this: the integral of k x prime dx prime. So this integral, the integral kx prime dx prime evaluated over the classical turning points. So this is the integral kx prime dx prime, where k, we know what it is square root of 2m e minus v by h cross squared. So this is k dx prime. K is a function of x prime, where x prime goes from a to b, and this integral we found has to be equal to n plus half pi if you want to have allowed wave functions. For the allowed wave functions, this integral has to be satisfied. So for a particular value of a, both the limits of this integral will be different, because a and b are the points where the energy is equal to the potential. If I change the energy, the a and b values will change. The function k will also change, because that also depends on energy, and the whole integral will change. And we have to see for what values of energy this integral condition will be satisfied, and that will give us the allowed bound states for this particular problem. So we shall consider one example of how we can apply this. Before that, let us see some general implications of this equation, of this condition. So any bound state where the WKB approximation can be applied has to satisfy this relation. Let us multiply this relation by h cross. So if I multiply this relation by h cross, what I get will be a condition between on the momentum, integral of the momentum. So if I multiply it by h cross, I will get integral a to b. H cross into k is p, so I have p x prime dx prime is equal to n plus half into pi into h cross. So let me now draw the classical trajectory of the particle in phase space. So you might not be familiar with what is phase space. So let me first tell you what is phase space. Phase space consists of for a particle moving in one dimension, phase space is x and p, the momentum. For a particle in two dimensions, it will be x, y, px, py. In three dimensions, x, y, z, px, py, pz. So it is a phase, it's a space which has got the position and momentum both as coordinates. Points there have information about both the position and momentum. So if I tell you the position of a particle here, its future trajectory is fully defined because I know its momentum and position at some instant. Classically, then I can solve the Newton's equation of motion if I know the initial momentum and position. So this if I know a position of a particle at some instant here in this phase space, its future, its past, everything is known. Now for this problem at hand, we have two classical turning points which were labeled as B and A, and the classical motion of the particle is restricted between B and A, and the motion is something like it will have some trajectory and which will be exactly the same. So the upper part and the lower part will be exactly the same. A particle will move in this direction. No, sorry, it will move in the opposite direction. It will move like this in phase space. Because a particle, if a particle is at this position, it has got positive momentum, and it is at the origin of the coordinate system. So since it has positive momentum, it will move like this, and it will move to the classical extrema of the classical. It will move to the classical turning point and then turn back. So effectively, a particle here, which is here, with some positive momentum, will move up and then come down, then move here. When it comes down, it will have negative momentum. It will go up, it will again come down, and it will keep on oscillating. And that is what is being shown here. So this corresponds to a situation where it is at the center, at the origin with positive momentum. It will move along the x-axis. Its momentum will come down. It will move to the turning point A, where the energy and the potential are both equal, and then it will again move back. Now it will have negative momentum and it will keep on going around like this. So this is the classical trajectory of the particle, and this momentum here, this integral here, in this integral, px prime refers to the classical value of the momentum, because px prime is h cross into 2m e minus vx by h cross square. This will cancel out with this. So we have px prime is equal to 2m e minus vx prime. P was h cross into k. So this is the classical momentum, and classically we know that the momentum behaves something like this. So this condition over here can also be expressed as the integral of px, or I can drop the x, px dx should be equal to n plus half into 2 pi h cross, and 2 pi h cross is h. It's another symbol. H is equal to 2 pi h cross, or h cross is 2 pi h by 2 pi. Okay. This integral is over the whole orbit, and it has got two parts, the upper part as well as the lower part. So this integral appears twice in this. So a factor of 2 comes here. So we get 2 pi h cross, which is h. So the condition, the quantum condition for the energy E, for there to exist a bound state for the energy E, corresponds to the condition that the classical momentum integrated along the orbit. So for that, so if I suppose I want to find out whether a particular value of energy is allowed or not. So what is the condition for that value of energy? I can find out the classical orbit. This is the classical orbit. Given the energy, we know the orbit. It is the values, allowed values for this. If I change x prime, p will change, and this is the allowed classical orbit. So given a value of energy, we know the classical orbit in phase space. This is where the particle must lie, and it will move like this. So suppose we want to see whether a value of energy E is allowed or not, we have to find the area of this curve, of this classical orbit in phase space. If the area of this classical orbit in phase space is n plus half into h, then that particular value of energy, you can have a wave function corresponding to that particular value of energy, which satisfies the proper boundary conditions, etc. If this integral condition is not satisfied, then the wave function will blow up on either one side or the other, and that particular value of energy will not correspond to a bound state. You don't have any bound state with that value of energy.
Will it be an area or a line integral?
This p dx is an area. P into dx is the area of this curve. Okay, p into dx will give you the area. You can think of it as twice this integral, the upper integral, which is the area of this whole curve. Okay, area under this whole curve. This is also called the phase integral. And those of you who might have encountered the Bohr theory of hydrogen atom or some older versions of quantum mechanics. See, quantum mechanics developed in a gradual fashion. They first had some experimental observations like the spectrum of the hydrogen atom and things like that, which people wanted to explain. They did not know about Schrodinger's equation operators at that time. So there was some intermediate kind of quantum mechanics which used the classical concepts and tried to explain the energy levels, etc. And one such attempt, which was partially correct, which could explain the stationary sum of the stationary states, was based on this, that the integral p dot x, or the phase integral, should be n plus half into h. This was the condition for stationary states, and there was an older version of quantum mechanics based on this. So this condition shows us the relation between classical mechanics and quantum mechanics. They're closely related. There is, for the stationary states, there is a very close relation between the two. Okay, and the condition, this is the condition which we have for the stationary states, the allowed values of energy for the stationary states. So you can use this to work out many of the spectra for many situations. We shall be doing one of them. This also, if you look at this, you can also draw more out of it. Suppose, okay, before that, the integral a to b kx dx is also the phase of the wave function as we go from here to here. This integral k dx is the phase, is a change in phase of the wave function as we go from one end to the other. Okay, because this k dx, I had told you right in the beginning, we had written the wave function as e to the power I phi, and phi is a to this integral a to b k dx. So this is the change in phase of the wave function as we go from one classical turning point to the other. Now suppose, and for any allowed state this has to be n plus half into pi. So suppose we have a value of energy for which n is equal to 0. Then if these are the allowed, if these are the two classical turning points, as we go from here to here, the wave function passes through only the value pi. The phase of the wave function passes only through the value pi. So we see that the wave function has no zero crossing in between, because the phase only passes through a value pi. If so, there is no node, there are no nodes in the wave function. If n equal to 1, then the phase passes, if n is 0, it only passes through pi by 2 and there are no nodes. Okay. If n is equal to 1, then the phase passes from 0 to 3 pi by 2. So at the value pi which lies in between, for example, if you look at cos integral k x prime dx prime, this will have a 0, so from a to x, and as x goes from a to b, this thing over here will pass from 0 to 3 pi by 2. So somewhere it will have to cross pi and you will have one node in the wave function. So you will have one node in the wave function. So you will have something like this. Similarly, for any value of n, this tells you how many factors of pi the wave function will cross through. So n is the number of nodes in the wave function. Sorry, pi by 2, okay. But at every interval of pi there will be a node. Okay. The exact point where it will cross 0 is not the main thing. At every interval of pi there will be one node. For example, for sine theta, at every interval of pi there is one node. Okay, so as it goes from 0 to pi there is one node, and again there is another node as it goes from 0 to 2 pi.
So by node you mean when it crosses the
When it crosses 0. When the wave function is 0. Okay, so n tells us the number of zero crossings, the number of nodes in the wave function. Now let us go back to the old, so to this way of representing the condition for the energy. Let us look at two different values of n which correspond to two different states, two different allowed energies. So the difference in area between two successive values of n, the difference in area in phase space between two successive values n here is h. So this leads us to the idea that a quantum state, every quantum state occupies an area h in phase space in one dimension. In 3 dimensions it will occupy h cube, because if I increase n by 1, the area subtended in phase space goes up by h. So this is something which is very useful in a situation where quantum mechanics comes in, but we want to use some kind of classical interpretation. This is also very useful in statistical mechanics, where you want to count the number of states in phase space. So you associate one state with every area h for a one-dimensional system. You associate one state with the area h in phase space, or in 3 dimensions with the volume h cube in phase space. Because as the as you go to higher and higher excited states, the area under this curve increases by n. Another point which I would like you to note is that this WKB approximation, the results in this situation are very close to what you expect classically, because the probability density is, which is equal to mod of psi x squared. For the WKB solution, this is equal to 1 by kx, because each of these has a square root of 1 by kx. So the probability density is proportional to 1 by kx, inversely proportional to 1 by kx, which is inversely proportional to the velocity of the particle at that point. So if I have a particle in some kind of a potential well, the probability density of finding the particle at any point is inversely proportional to the classical velocity the particle would have at that point. Now, suppose there was a particle doing a classical oscillation over here, and I did not know the phase of the oscillation. I just knew that it was oscillating, but I had no clue when it started oscillating, at what phase of the oscillation it is in. And I now ask, what is the classical probability of finding the particle in some interval dx? Now, the particle, the time, so the probability of finding a particle at any interval dx is proportional to the time the particle spends over there. And the time a particle spends in any interval dx is inversely proportional to the velocity of the particle there. So in the region where the particle is moving fast, it will just zip through, and then here it will move very slowly. So if you randomly just ask what is the probability of finding the particle anywhere, it is going to be highest in regions where the particle is moving slowly, and it is going to be small where the particle moves fast. So this, that the fact that the probability density is inversely proportional to the velocity is quite in keeping with our expectations from classical considerations. So the WKB approximation is very closely related to the classical behavior of the particles, and it is also called the semi-classical, this is called a semi-classical wave function. And there are more reasons. I mean, the relation between the two goes deeper than what I have told you, but I shall not go into that here. Let us consider one example where we can apply the WKB approximation to a situation where we already know the result. So let us apply it to a simple harmonic oscillator potential. So we are going to apply WKB to simple harmonic oscillator, and we want to work out the allowed energy levels for a simple harmonic oscillator. So the potential we have is like this, and we want to consider some value of energy E. So Vx is equal to half m omega square into x square. This is nothing but half kx squared. So this is the potential. And we have a particle with energy E moving in such a potential. So let us first determine the classical turning points of this potential. So the classical turning points, which I label as A and B, are the situations where the energy is exactly equal to the potential. The particle classically cannot move anywhere beyond this. So we have to look at this. E is given a value of energy, we have to determine where this condition is satisfied and this is, so half m omega square a square. A is the classical turning point. So the particle will go at most up to this distance a, which tells us that a is equal to 2e by m omega squared, square root, and b is equal to minus a. So these are the limits of the classical orbit. So classically the particle will move between these 2 points. Let us also now calculate the integral k dx. So we have to see this integral a minus a to a, k, what is k? K is kx dx, which is equal to minus a to a. Doesn't matter. After all, we want to see whether it is equal to n plus half pi and it should be positive. Okay. So this into k is 2m by h cross square e minus half m omega square x square, this dx. So I can divide this by e and write it as x by a whole squared, 1 minus x by a squared. And I can take this whole factor out. So this integral is equal to square root of 2me by h cross square integral minus a to a, and I have square root of 1 minus x by a square dx. And for a stationary state, for if E is an allowed value of energy, this should be equal to n plus half into pi. So let us first evaluate this integral. So this integral is very simple to evaluate. We have to just substitute x by a is equal to sine theta. So dx is equal to a that's right. So that's how it has gone into this half m omega square by e is a square is a squared, 1 by a squared. Okay. So I have taken the e common and put it outside. So this is equal to a cos theta d theta. So this factor over here, this part of the integrand, this is the integrand, this is nothing but cos theta. This dx gives me another cos theta. This a can be written outside, and I have, this is equal to, let me put the value of a also. A is 2e by m omega square, 2e by m omega square, and we have, this is a which comes from dx, and then here we have 2me by h cross squared, and then I have this, the limits of the integral now become minus pi by 2 to pi, minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. Because sine theta is equal to minus pi by 2, I get minus a, and okay, and we have cos square theta d theta. And this is equal to, so the factor of, so we have 2e by h cross into omega. The m cancels out. So the factor outside is 2e by h cross omega, and this integral is minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. Cos squared theta is half cos 2 theta minus 1 d theta, or rather cos 2 theta plus 1 d theta, because this is cos squared theta minus sin squared theta, and this is cos squared theta plus sin squared theta. So the sin squared theta cancels out. I have 2 cos squared theta by 2. So this is correct. And the integral of cos 2 theta d theta from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2 gives us 0. So what we have left is equal to 2e by h cross omega, and the integral of d theta by 2 from minus pi to pi by 2 to pi by 2, this finally gives us pi by 2. So this integral is equal to e into pi by h cross omega. And if this has to be an allowed energy level, then this should be equal to n plus half into pi. So if this has to be allowed energy level, then this integral should be equal to n plus half pi. K dx between the two limits should be n plus half pi, which gives us the familiar condition that E should be equal to n plus half h cross omega. So we see that we can recover. So this finally gives us E is equal to h cross omega n plus half. And the exact solution of the simple harmonic oscillator problem also gave us exactly the same allowed values of energy. So we see that the WKB approximation gives us the same allowed values of energy. So it works pretty well in this case. I leave it as an exercise to you to work out the wave function, the approximate wave function using the WKB approximation. So you can now plug back this whole thing and work out the wave functions. It will be exponential on the two sides, and in between you will have some cosine and sine, and then you can just, so it will give you the approximate form of the wave function away from the classical turning point, but it will tell you the general behavior of the wave function. So I will not discuss that here. So this is the application of the WKB approximation to find the bound states for a potential well problem. And for every bound state of the potential well problem, this condition, the integral from between the two classical turning points of kx dx, this should be equal to n plus half pi. And we just saw one application of this. Now let us turn to a different problem, where again we can apply the WKB approximation. So the problem we are going to discuss next is the problem of tunneling. So we have discussed tunneling in the context of a piecewise constant potential. For a piecewise constant potential, we had the oscillating solution, the plane wave solution on the left hand side and the right hand side. We have a situation here where the potential increases over here and then again comes down, and the energy of the particle is less than the value of the potential in this range. Classically we had, earlier on in this course, we had dealt with a problem very similar to this, just that the potential was 0 over here and it suddenly jumped up to a constant value, and then again it dropped to 0. We had the oscillating solutions on this side, we had the exponentially decaying and growing solutions in the middle, and we had the oscillating solutions over here also, and we had matched the coefficients of these solutions at the boundaries, and we had found that there is a probability that a particle arriving from this side with energy less than the height of the potential, there is a probability for it to go through and come out on the other side, and that was the tunneling phenomena. And we had worked out the tunneling amplitude, the tunneling coefficient in that particular case. Now we are going to consider a situation where we have some arbitrary potential. Again, we have a particle with energy less than the height of the potential barrier coming from the left hand side, and we want to calculate the tunneling coefficient in this situation. So in this case, in the region 1 on the left hand side, where the energy is more than the value of the potential, we can work out the WKB solution away from the classical turning points. So classically the particle would come here and then turn back. Away from this point A, we can work out the WKB approximate solutions. And these solutions will have two parts. One part is A by square root of k exponential I integral from a to x kx prime dx prime. And another part of the solution is the same thing with a minus sign here. These are the two oscillating solutions on the left hand side, just that the wave number is changing with position. Similarly, on the right hand side, where the energy is greater than the potential and away from the classical turning point, we have the two oscillating solutions. In between, we have the exponential solutions which decay and grow exponentially, and these two solutions are shown here. One is a by square root of rho x exponential a to x rho x prime dx prime plus b square root of rho x minus integral a to x rho x prime dx prime. So these are the solutions in the three regions over here, which is very similar to the situation where the potential suddenly jumped up, very similar to this situation which we have solved. There also the solutions were expressed in exactly the same way, except that we did not have integrals here. We just had kx, kx minus kx, and rho x minus rho x, etc. And we have to match these coefficients. These coefficients have to be matched by connecting these solutions through the classical turning point through this classical turning point, that will allow us to relate these coefficients, and we can connect these solutions to these solutions through this classical turning point, which will allow us to relate this coefficient to this coefficient. I had shown you those expressions. For example, for this particular turning point, which is this situation here, the solution cosine integral x to a kx prime dx prime goes over to exponential minus a to x rho x prime dx prime on the right hand side. Similarly, sine goes over to exponential with the plus sign here. So we can add up these two to find out what this will go over to as I go from here to here, and we can subtract them with with appropriate factors of I to connect these solutions to these solutions. So the relation between A1, B1, A2, B2 can be obtained by just using these, using the fact that this goes over to this goes over to this, as I go across the classical turning point. Similarly, we can use these relations for this kind of a situation to relate the coefficients A2, B2 and A3, B3. So let me show you the final result of doing this. The final result of doing this is shown over here, and this kind of a procedure is valid only if these conditions are satisfied. B1 minus IA1 divided by B1 plus IA1 should not be too close to 0. Similarly, A3 minus IB3 divided by A3 plus IB3 should not be too close to 0. If this condition is not satisfied, this kind of a procedure is not valid.
Both of them should not be.
Yeah. So connecting the solutions across the two classical turning points, we get the relation between the coefficients A1, B1 and A3, B3. And the relation can be expressed in terms of a matrix. We had done the same thing for the potential step, if you remember. We had related the coefficients across on the left hand side to the coefficients of the right hand side of the potential step. And the relation between these two is through this variable theta, where theta is the integral, the exponential of the integral a to b rho x dx. So theta tells us about the depth and the width of the potential. It has the information about the depth and the width of the potential. So what is the information given in this relation? This relation tells us how A1, B1 are related to A3 and B3. What is A1? What is B1? What is A3? What is B3? This part of the wave function over here represents a wave coming from this side, incident. In a situation where the potential was constant, e to the power ikx, exponential e to the power ikx, had a positive probability current, and it represented a wave coming this way, particles incident from the left hand side. So this is the part which represents a particle incident from the left hand side. If you calculate the probability current for this, you will see that this has a positive probability current. Similarly, this has a negative probability current, so the probability current for this part is this way, and these are on the left hand side. So this is the incident part of the wave, and this is the reflected. Similarly, this part over here, this part of the wave function over here, has a probability current this way, and this part of the wave function over here has a probability current in this direction. So these coefficients tell us the amplitudes of these four parts, these different parts of the waves. Okay, so A1 is the amplitude of the incident wave, B1 is the reflected wave, A3 is the transmitted wave, and B3 is the incident from the right hand side, which is 0. So and we can relate these by continuing the WKB approximations through the classical turning points, and this is the relation. So we know that B3, and we are considering a situation where particles are incident from the left hand side, the particle is incident from here, and we want to calculate the tunneling amplitude. So the tunnel, let me, so what is the information that we have? We know that B3 is equal to 0 because nothing is incident from the right hand side. And we want to calculate the tunneling coefficient, which is J3 plus, so it is J plus 3, the mod of this, divided by J plus 1. The transmitted probability current, the probability current going to the along the positive x-axis in the region 3, divided by the incident probability current J1. So this is region 1, 2 and 3, and the potential barrier is something like this. So the probability current which is transmitted traveling on the right to the right hand side, divided by the incident probability current. This is the tunneling coefficient. We want to calculate this, and this we had also worked out what this expression was. This expression was the coefficient of the positive part squared into K3 divided by coefficient to K1, which is equal to psi plus 3 by into square root of K3 into divided by psi 1 square root of K1 squared, right? This K3 and K1 came out because the probability current involves a gradient which will give us factors of K outside. So this has already been done. We have calculated this. Psi plus 3 represents the amplitude. So psi plus 3 represents this A3, the amplitude of this, A3 by square root of K3 here. Okay. So the psi 3 into K into square root of K is nothing but A3. Psi 1 into square root of K1 is nothing but A1. So this is equal to A3 squared by A1 squared. Okay. So let us work this out now. We know the relation between these various A1, B1 and A3, B3. So we have to express A3 in terms of A1 or A1 in terms of A3. We also know that B3 is 0. So let us express A1 in terms of A3 and B3. So A1 is equal to half, and then we have 2 theta minus 1 by 2 theta into A3 plus I 2 theta minus 1 by 2 theta into B3. And
That will be plus in the A3 term.
it should be A3 theta plus. Thank you. Right. And we know that B3 is 0. So the tunneling coefficient is the mod of A3 squared divided by A1 squared.
The half should be outside the bracket.
The half should be over, there should be a half here also. But it doesn't matter because B3 is 0. So this term drops out, and we are interested in A3 mod squared by A1 mod squared. This is the tunneling coefficient. So this is equal to, so we can divide throughout. So I have A3 mod square here, and I have 1/4 2 theta plus 1 by 2 theta squared, which gives me 4 by 2 theta plus 1 by 2 theta